So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the program. I want to start by making a public notice. This meeting will be recorded, and so photos and video will be taken. And as a public event, if you participate in this meeting, you're giving consent to that. So I just want to make sure that you know if you are using your camera and you have your camera tone on, that the meeting will be recorded. If you don't want to see yourself on camera, you don't want to be recorded, feel free to turn off your camera, but we will be capturing both video and audio during this meeting. The primary reason why we're recording tonight's meeting is so that we can make sure to go back and really dig through the comments that are left with us today, and then also so we can share that information with any city influencers who were unable to attend tonight. The next thing that I want to share with you is just a little bit of information about how this event came to be and sort of the purpose and context for tonight's meeting. And so, with the closure of many recreational events in sort of immediate aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, many staff within the city of Bloomington got together and they were like, we recognize that there's a disproportionate impact on our BIPOC community, and we want to know what we can do to address that issue. And before we decided to just go ahead and try to address the problem or come up with a solution, we thought that it would be particularly important to reach out to young people to say, how would you like for us to address these issues, and sort of what are the things that we can do to create additional recreational opportunities. In the process of doing that, we decided to host a town hall event. And the model for this event was adopted after an event that was had in Minneapolis by a youth-led organization called Undoing Racism. And so the preparers of that event were really helpful and instrumental in the beginning planning stages of this event to show us sort of some of the things that they had done, and we really benefited from lessons learned. Throughout the planning process, particularly after the killing of George Floyd, we recognized that in addition to seeking input about recreational activities, that it would be important for us to hear feedback from young people around sort of the state of the city in the future, and sort of what sort of change that they wanted to see, and really having an opportunity for them to express themselves and provide input on the issues of institutional racism. And so we decided that we would add to the agenda. And so in addition to surveying youth with questions around recreational opportunities and their experience in the city of Bloomington, we opened that up to a more broad focus. And so the town hall tonight is intended to be a safe gathering place where youth who either live, work, and some are play in Bloomington are able to share their experiences and thoughts with people of power and influence. And so the format for tonight's event, we'll start at the beginning of the hour, hearing from three, or actually we'll be hearing from four youth that represent three organizations, and they will share their sort of prepared reflections on some questions that we sent over to them. We'll have representation from Treehouse for Hope. We'll have also some representatives from Oasis for Youth, and then also some representatives from the Bloomington Schools Office of Educational Equity Leadership Academy. And so we'll spend the first bulk of maybe the 40 minutes to an hour hearing from those youth. And then we'll open up the call to any other young people on the call who would like to respond to the questions that they've heard and or offer input. And so there'll be both an opportunity for prepared responses by young people and then an open hour for any young people on the call who want to participate. There will also be an opportunity at the end for some very brief remarks from representatives from the city of Bloomington and also the Bloomington School District. We have with us tonight Mayor Tim Bussey, who will be providing remarks on behalf of the city, and Assistant Superintendent Jenna Mitchler, who will also be providing some brief remarks on behalf of the school district. So we're hoping that this meeting will last for about 2 hours or so. And we recognize that that may not be enough time for everything that needs to be said, but we're really hoping that this is the first in a series of conversations. And so if you don't have an opportunity to speak tonight, or if we, need to do this again, there's certainly an opportunity to do that. Now, I want to share with you quickly just some protocol for how we can make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak and have their voice heard tonight, and that we do so in a smooth and respectful manner. And so just another reminder that we are recording the town hall event, and we will share that recording on the city's YouTube page so that others will have an opportunity to view the material. Also, we're here to hear from the youth. But we also do want to know who's joining the call. And so if you would like, feel free to just add your information to the chat, maybe your name, the organization that you're representing, or any other information that you think will be beneficial to those who are on the call. Also, if you want to see everyone who's on the call, use the gallery view in the upper right corner and you'll be able to see everyone. Otherwise, you can keep it focused on the speaker or the person who's talking. Also, if you aren't a youth participant, but you would like to share during the open forum, feel free to add reflections to the chat. Also, if you want to share during the open forum and you can't find a space, so if you're a young person and you want to share and you either can't find a space to do so, or you would just feel more comfortable not voicing that on camera, feel free to just interject using the chat box. Also, when we get to the open forum session, I'll again draw your attention to some agreements, but I'll do that here as well. We really want to make sure that this is an opportunity for people to be able to hear from each other and hear different views and perspectives. In order to accomplish that, we want to make sure that we're demonstrating mutual respect tonight. So we're really hoping for both mutual respect and understanding. One way to accomplish that is to use the chat to talk throughout the meeting or set reflections. And when you do so, be sure to speak from your personal perspective as opposed to challenging or responding to others' perspectives. Also, if you want to share in the conversation, try to focus on the issues and not the person. Instead of like naming a particular person, really sort of describe the issues that you're experiencing. And also just remember to be respectful and be engaged. And so with that, I am going to shift from protocol and agreements and do some introductions of the folks that we have on the call tonight. But before I introduce the facilitator and the amazing young people who have some prepared responses, I am going to stop talking and I am going to turn it over to one of our representatives who you will hear more from later, Caltoon, to kick this event off with a poem. So Caltoon, if you would like to unmute yourself and share your poem with everyone who's joined here today, we are waiting anxiously to hear from you.
Hi. 2015, November 19, the day racism was more evident than ever before. Hi, my name is Kultun, as most of you guys have already heard, and I was born and raised in South Africa. Well, I would like to say that racism did exist over there. However, it was not so in your face, or so it was hidden behind so many cloaks. However, when we migrated to the United States of America for a better education and for better purposes of living, racism became something I was more aware of every day. It became the way I was treated at school, the way I was seen, and the way I would get looks from my peers or people who were higher than me. It went from going to the grocery stores and getting looks about my hijab, from my mom not being able to get the same job as other peers who had the same education levels, from my siblings being discriminated against by classmates, and we had to watch it. So I would like to say that even though racism did exist, I would have rather much chose it the other way, where I could not see even though it existed. I started school in 2016, January 1st. When I remember applying for schooling, and I remember always being an AP student in South Africa. However, when I tried applying for AP classes in America, I was refused and I was told to go into ELS. I was a fluently speaking both bilingual student, and I knew both the languages and more. I did not understand the reason why I had to go into ELS, even though I was better than most of the kids over there. I remember asking my oldest brother, who knew more about things than I ever could at that time, and asked him, what's the reason for that? I don't think I need to be in there. They're learning things I've learned 2 years ago. And then he was like, well, if you already know it, you should be able to transfer. However, I was not allowed for a whole year and had to stay back a whole year. So this brings me to the topic of people who say that racism is not such a big thing in today's society. To you, it might not be because you do not live the lives of those who face it every day. Facing it from schooling, from the public system, from the educational system and from the prison system, it's quite evident that racism exists. I mean, just look at the president we have in today's society. It doesn't make sense when one student has to fear their lives more and one has to think about what would they do with their friends after school. I was one of those students. However, I found a place for myself at OEE Leadership Academy, and I found that I was accepted in many forms. It took time for me to be able to be speaking up for myself and finding the grounds I needed to. Well, I would like to tell the people who put me in ELS 2 years ago that I've graduated from Kennedy High School. I mean, not so graduated, but got my diploma, and I'm going to McAllister this year. So I don't know what you thought that would happen if you put me in ELS, but you've taught me a lot. This world is something that I know we cannot all change, but one step at a time is what we can do. If it takes you time to say somebody's name correctly, well, there's a problem with that. I went from being called cartoon to until finally accepting that my name is cartoon and I should force people to say it the way it is because that's what my mother called me. Well, that's my story. Even though life hasn't always been a burden for me, I've seen most that have faced more than I could ever believe I could. And to those who have faced more, I tell you, I'm here for you and I'm listening. And it's time for racism to not be an issue and to not be seen as much as before.
Thank you so much for sharing that poem and for sharing your views and perspectives with us. It was extremely powerful, and I really appreciate that. And everyone would have more of an opportunity to hear from Calhoun later in the program. And so at this point, I am going to introduce our facilitator for tonight. As you can see, there's a giant picture of him on the screen. Our amazing facilitator is James, also known as Jimmy Austin. He is a youth outreach and engagement coordinator for Treehouse for Hope. He served in that role for 4.5 years. And in those 4.5 years, he has mentored over 200 teens, which I think is just absolutely amazing. And James says that his goal is to really foster community between youth and really seek to eliminate the feeling of hopelessness in the Bloomington community. And so I think that Bloomington benefits from having such a committed person working with our youth in our city, and we're happy to have him as a facilitator. After I introduce the other representatives from throughout for the rest of the program, you'll be hearing from Jimmy's voice. But before I turn it over to him, I will introduce our additional youth representatives. So I also want to introduce you to Tatiana. And Tatiana is a youth representative from Oasis for Youth. As you can see, she has a cool smiling face and nice sunglasses. And she's also a Bloomington resident. Tatiana has attended Bloomington schools, and she considers herself a community leader and change advocate. I do want to acknowledge at the beginning here that Tatiana was having a few issues with joining. And so if we don't hear from her tonight, we will try to. Oh, Tatiana, are you with us?
Yeah, yes.
Awesome. So I'm glad that you are with us. And so you'll hear a little bit more from her later. Next, I'm going to introduce Jenna Ahmad. Jenna is a representative from Oasis from Youth as well. She's been a Bloomington resident for 13 years. She attended Valley View Middle School and Kennedy High School. And she is a community leader and also an advocate for youth with special needs. We also have with us Catherine Vasquez, and Catherine is a representative from Treehouse Hope. Catherine is not a Bloomington resident, but she's a friend of Bloomington, and she frequents Bloomington 2 to 3 times a week, and mostly to attend the Mall of America and or Treehouse for Hope. She's a Richfield High School graduate, and she is also headed to the University of Minnesota to study this fall. She says that she's grateful to have others hear from her today and hear from her friends as she strives to make a change within Bloomington. And so Catherine was really instrumental in collecting responses from both friends who are like herself, who don't live in Bloomington, but spend a lot of time in Bloomington, and also from friends who are residents of Bloomington. And then last but not least, I want to introduce the representatives from the Bloomington Public Schools Office of Educational Equity. And so the Office of Educational Equity runs a leadership academy, and many of the youth from that leadership academy participated in the phone calls that led up to this planning session. And I think about 15 or so actually submitted a PDF document that was like 4 pages long. So they spent a lot of time thinking about the questions that we're going to answer here today. And they selected Caltoon to serve as their representative tonight. Caltoon to serve as their representative tonight. And so she is a representative of the Leadership Academy. She's also a Bloomington resident, a Kennedy graduate, a poet, an artist, and a change agent. And so now that you've heard a little bit about who you're going to hear from in terms of prepared responses, I am going to do what I like to do best, which is stop talking and allow other people to do so. And I am turning it over to Jimmy to facilitate the conversation.
Yes, thank you, Faith. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Again, I'm really excited for what we get to do here during this time. I'm excited for all the youth that joined in and participated. Wow, we just have some amazing young people just involved and participating. And again, I want to thank the city of Bloomington for lending us their ear. And I'm excited to do some amazing work in partnering with you guys and really bringing about some amazing change within our community. That being said, I'm excited because I'm going to lead you guys into some questions. And as I'm asking these questions, again, I'm going to call on our very amazing youth that we selected for this initial meeting. I'm going to call on them. But if you guys have answers or you guys have been thinking about these questions that you guys are going to see on screen, feel free to either type your answers in the chat as well as just type them somewhere so that way you can keep them, because there's going to be a time at the end with an open forum. And if you guys have things that you want to share, again, there's going to be time for us to call on you, and you guys can share that with the audience that we have. Again, really excited. And again, I want to thank you, Faith, for making this happen, and Sue and Matt and everybody involved in this. This is amazing. So that being said, let's roll into this. So we're going to start with our first question. And again, we got our youth, and so we're ready to rock and roll. And our first question for the youth, and now that we have the ear of everyone in Bloomington, and that is, what is your story? What would you like the folks in Bloomington, the decision makers, to know about you? And then beyond that, and do you have an example, a connection, an experience that you would like to share? So with that being the question, I want to first call on Tatiana. Tatiana, are you with me?
Yes, I am.
Tatiana, go ahead and share a little bit of something about yourself, because we want to know who you are.
Okay. Hello, my name is Tatiana. I'm mother of 2 boys, Kavion and Khalil, ages 1 year old and a 6-year-old. I went to school from elementary to high school in Bloomington, from the east and the west side. I had my first job in Bloomington at the age of 14. I got connected with Oasis for Youth organization. At the same time, they actually helped me get the job. Worked at the Mall of America and enjoy my time in Bloomington. Just the whole neighborhood is very peaceful. So.
Yeah, and Tatiana, do you have for just your time in Bloomington and your experience in the community here, do you have a story, an experience that you can share that can give us a look inside your perspective of your community here?
Yes. So actually, other things that happened in Bloomington also was I experienced neglect. My dad and his wife had got married, and they got divorced, which left me and my underage. I was underage. My sister was underage, and she had a baby, which was my niece, and she was the youngest in the household. And we ended up experiencing not having food in the house, not having a bed to lay in, or a kitchen table, or television to pay attention to the news, or even no bus fare, no real resource or way to be able to pay rent to even survive. I'm already at a young age where I don't even know what she's going to until I hit the age of 18. So I kind of went a little bit of that. That was pretty scary and traumatic for me to go through that experience in Bloomington. And so trying to navigate Bloomington and figure out resources and stuff in Bloomington, I was not able to find a lot of resources. But Oasis was one of the resources, and thank God for Oasis because they helped me be the best of me. And so, yeah, I'm so glad to be a part of this experience. I believe that people that want to change the world can change the future, and I am looking for that change in the world, in the community, and yeah.
Thank you, Tatiana. I think it's so important that as a young person in Bloomington, you're aware of your resources and know where to go, especially in times when you need help. And so I thank you for just highlighting that experience, because that's going to give us an insight to some changes we can make in the community. So thank you again for sharing that. I want to move on to Jenna. Jenna, are you with us?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm
Yes.
Jenna Ahmad.
Jenna,
And,
what would you like Bloomington, the city of Bloomington, to know about you?
I have lived in Bloomington for 13 years, went to Valley Middle School, graduated from Kennedy High School. I have siblings that go to school, and I have family that go to school in Bloomington. And we're just all seeking change in the Bloomington community. And even hearing from my little siblings, because I was asking them their intake, and I was asking my younger niece on her intake or how she feels, and we just all want to see change and give other youth that don't have a voice, and just give everyone a chance to speak.
That's so good. That's so good. And we want that for everyone. With
Yeah.
that being said, do you have a story or an experience within your time growing up here? I know you went to school here and everything. Do you have a story, an experience that you would like to share with the city that you might be able to get some insight to your experience as a Bloomington resident?
Yes. Just my experiences, as in, I know racism, is kind of iffy for people to talk on. And I feel like most definitely more education on that into schools. I know my niece, she's learning new stuff every day, and she tells me like, Titi, we haven't heard about that, so it's like just learning more about all type of history, and just keeping that knowledge, and always wanting the willingness to learn more, and the willingness to learn from each other and to listen to each other. And most definitely I feel like that's something that most definitely the decision makers should understand and realize the youth wants that, and we need that in our education.
Yeah, yes, I 100% agree, and I thank you just for sharing that that nugget for us, because I think it's going to help us grow. Thank you so much, Jana. Let's move on to Caltoon. Caltoon, are you with us?
Yeah.
All right, Caltoon. What would you like the folks in the city of Bloomington to know about you?
That I have 11 siblings, and I live in a one-parent household where my mom's the mom and the dad, and being taught to work from an early age. And even though Bloomington is not as bad as other cities, that we're not perfect either.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And how about an experience or a story from your time growing up here or being here and living as a resident?
I would say seeing my mom not get jobs that she was more than qualified to get because she had a degree and everything, and seeing her peers and her white counterparts get the same parts that she wasn't able to book.
Yeah, I think that's that's incredibly hard. That's incredibly challenging, especially in a single parent household. To want your mom to do good and do better, and to see the roadblocks that's in our way. So that's definitely something that we want to work towards changing. So thank you so much for sharing that, Caltoon.
Yeah, no problem.
And we have one more. Catherine, are you with us? Ms.
Yeah.
Catherine? All right, thank you for being with us. What would you like the city of Bloomington? Catherine, you are someone who's constantly in Bloomington with Treehouse or at the mall, but you're an outsider as a non-resident, as someone who comes to Bloomington frequently, but lives just across the border. What's something that you would like the city of Bloomington to know about you?
I would like you guys to know that well, you kind of already said it, but yeah, I live by Bloomington, but today I'll be telling you guys from a perspective that include people that also live by Bloomington and live also in Bloomington. So, yep.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Thank you for sharing that, Catherine. And then along with that, do you have a story or experience, or even just a thought, just coming from a Richfield residence? Do you have a thought just from your observations of Bloomington and your experiences here?
Experiences I have in Bloomington is basically, just being in Bloomington, going, for example, to Treehouse. That was a big thing for me. It changed my high school years, because I don't know, it just I felt connected, and I felt like Richfield might miss it needs a Treehouse, because it's a good way to connect with other teams and people.
Well, that's good. That's good. Thank you for sharing that. Again, Treehouse just wants to be a connection point, a place of a community. And so, we just want to foster that. So thank you for sharing that, Catherine. Along with that, before we head to the next question, I just wanted to share a little bit about myself and my experience as someone who is a non-resident of Bloomington, but someone who's been involved in the community, has been working here for 4.5 years. I just want to share with you guys a little bit of that before we head on to the next question, because I think it's going to give us a good outlook, a good lens for what kind of changes we can make, and what kind of things we want to pay attention to as we move throughout the rest of this time. That being me as a Treehouse staff coming in 4.5 years ago, one of the things we like to do with youth here in Bloomington is we like to take them on summer trips. We do summer camps, things like that throughout the summer. Unfortunately, we aren't able to do that due to coronavirus and COVID-19 this year. But in years past, we've done a lot of events and things like that. And one of the challenges we ran into while doing a fundraiser for a couple of weeks was we ended up doing a door-to-door fundraiser selling coupon books for our youth. And so this was designed to raise money for a summer camp this about 2 summers ago. And one of the experiences that we saw as we were going through the neighborhoods door to door is we would see several houses. I would say that at least 10 to 15 houses that we encountered. We would see several houses who would see that people were home, and we could see people in the window, and we could see them see us at their front door, but they refused to answer. And granted, Treehouse is a very mixed bag of people, of different kinds of people, different colors and nationalities of people within our youth. And so as we're going throughout the neighborhood, I can tell you this was the first time I felt really uncomfortable doing a fundraiser like this. Again, I grew up in South Minneapolis, and we had done fundraisers like this very frequently. Every year we were doing fundraisers like this in the youth, just in different programs, different schools and things like that. I was always outside going door to door, meeting neighbors, meeting the neighborhood. And I had never run into this experience where people would literally look at us through the door and would refuse to answer the door. And so that was an interesting experience as someone who's coming from the outside. It was something that I wasn't used to. And it was the first time I was genuinely afraid for the safety of our students that were with us, because we hadn't experienced anything like this. And for them, some of them felt it was normal. But for someone who comes from South Minneapolis, this was not a normal experience. And so that was something I just wanted to share with you guys before we move to the next question, because I think it's going to give a really healthy lens as to the type of problems and type of things we see as people of color or BIPOC in the city of Bloomington. So with that being said, I'd like to move on to the second question. If Faith, if you're ready to rock and roll with that. So that's going to lead us into our second question. I know when we had this experience, it wasn't a feeling of safety, but we want to know from you guys, do you feel safe and welcome in the community of Bloomington, and why or why not? So we're going to open up to, Tatiana. Are you with us still?
Yes, I am.
Tatiana, we would like to know from you, do you feel safe in the community of Bloomington? And if you do, why or why not?
Okay, so I'll start with not. No, I do not feel safe in Bloomington area to a situation where we getting harassed and antagonized and bullied in schools from teachers, students, grocery stores, and restaurants even. Where in school where I was trying to, gain my high school diploma having an IEP, teacher was telling me that I'm not smart enough to be a doctor or be a dentist because of an IEP and whatever was going on in my household, which that had nothing to do with education in school and so on. And where my friends had an experience with school as well, and getting harassed because of how darker her skin is. She was darker. And I've watched this lady mess with her and pick on her, and to almost getting kidnapped in Bloomington in broad daylight. I've seen this person once. He's approached me. I'm on my way going to the mall, and he is questioning me about if I have a boyfriend and do I want money. And I'm like, no, I gotta go. And that was kind of it. And it took for the second time seeing him. It's been a minute, but I know that it was probably like what I'd say like a couple of weeks later, maybe a month or so. Not paying attention. I was so young. So yeah. So he ended up running into me again to where I had to run across the street, make it look like I lived somewhere else. He actually pulled in to the parking lot where I lived because I was sitting down with a friend. We were talking, and thank God that we weren't sitting directly in front of my door. And I told him, let's go the other way to make it look like we live in houses and stuff. And pretty much we ended up walking around. I walked him into his place, but we still live in the same parking lot. It's only a one-way entrance and a one-way exit. So I dropped him off. I went back around the same way I came just for him to get out of his vehicle. And I'm seeing in the reflection, mind me, this is one parking lot, and there's the older people's residence towards more of the end. And I can see in the reflection his truck. He's getting out of his vehicle. He's actually jogging after me at this point. I'm not running because I'm going to panic, and he's going to run. So I just sped walk, and I can say unexpectedly, I ended up running into the neighborhood watch. I said, there's this man chasing me. I need help. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't feel it was safe to knock on anybody's door. Being a color, I didn't think anyone was going to believe me. And so, like I said, unexpectedly, I ran into the neighborhood watch, and they waited with me until the police came. And that's where my second answer comes into saying, yes, I feel safe because of the neighborhood watch unexpectedly happened to be outside that day. And I say thank God, because this man was trying to get me. And what made me feel safe is knowing that there was someone in the neighborhood watching, or not even watching. They're a part of something, and they're just minding their business, taking their kid on a bike ride on a nice day. And I'm running and scared and don't know where to go. Don't think I can knock on anyone's door due to my color. And they might think it's something else other than I'm scared, I need help, I'm hurt, someone's getting me. And so yeah, that's kind of my experience as far as, do I feel safe and welcome? And so it's kind of in between because I did have my first job. So
yeah, wow. Well, man, my heart was racing just listening to that story. I'm very glad to see that you made it through that experience and that you're okay.
yeah.
And I'm very glad that you were able to run into that neighborhood watch. With that being said, do you feel like now, you're aware of like the safety resources you have in your community? Should something like that happen again?
I don't know where to go for that type of information. But I would love to learn and know where to go and how to get information on a situation like that. I have kids, so so it makes my heart race right now. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's valuable feedback because again, we want to make sure that you feel totally safe. We want to make sure that your kids grow up totally safe in the community of Bloomington. So thank you for sharing. Um, let's move on to Jenna. Now, before actually I call on her, again, I want to make sure I remind you guys that if you are a teen or you are anybody within the community of Bloomington, again, if you're hearing some of these questions or you're hearing some of these stories and that's triggering thoughts and stories or reflections in your head, again, make sure you just type them in the chat or write them down somewhere. And so that when we have the opportunity to do the open forum in the next hour, you will be able to call on you'll have that ready to go because again, we want to hear those stories. With that being said, Jenna, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Yes, Jenna. A question for you: do you feel safe and welcome in the city of Bloomington? And if so, why or why not?
Okay, so I said depending on where I'm at in Bloomington, and I can explain that more. Just in Bloomington, I lived on the east side, and I also lived on the west side of Bloomington. I've noticed that on the west side, like if I try to go shopping um or go just out to the parks, I've noticed that like it kind of not like a more welcoming feel. Like I don't feel as welcome on that part of Bloomington. Um, I would also say that I worked in a retail store in West Side of Bloomington, and the stereotype of BIPOC people that were received from certain retailers, I don't think that's acceptable. Um, it made me not feel safe either because it was so many like assumptions against BIPOC people that they steal and that they were just thieves. Um, and that and just harassment of the police. I know a lot of people have their different situations with the police in Bloomington, but from other youth that BIPOC youth that I've talked to, there has been a lot of harassment situations with the police, and that's what makes me not feel the kind of on the edge of not feeling safe in Bloomington.
Yeah, and would you say, Jenna, before you go, would you
Mm-hmm.
say that that there is a correlation between um, the BIPOC community within Bloomington um, and those outside of that? Would you say that there is a correlation between like the locations you feel safe and the locations where you're more prone to experience BIPOC and in the community of Bloomington?
Yeah, most definitely, and and it's kind of uneasy to talk about now because I lived there for so long, but it needs to be said, and it needs to be out there because it's not starting to feel safe like as it was like some years back. Like it's starting to get to the point where they feel like that, and I feel like that's where we all have to step in and try to make that change.
Yeah, for sure. Again, thank you, Jenna,
Yeah.
for jumping in and sharing your experience. I want to move on to Kaltun. Kaltun, are you with us?
Yeah.
All right, Kaltun, question for you. Do you feel safe in the Bloomington community? And if so, why or why not?
I honestly, I struggled with this question because I feel like safe is a broad word. Now, like, I'm safe at school. However, like, as Jenna said, like, you can see the differences between east side where I live and the west side when I go to my friends. Like, I'm more aware of what time I leave the house when I'm home, or like I know to like take my brothers with me per se. However, also like I think that like if anything bad happened, I believe, or I would like to believe that there would be people there to help me out in the situation. So I debate with this question a lot because it's like I haven't been put in a situation per se to be questioning it so far, but I'm more like I understand where I live, and I understand like I shouldn't be like, even though it's not okay, I shouldn't be like just leaving the house at 10 p.m. by myself
Yeah.
without like a significant other or like with a brother or somebody. And also like OEE has been like such a safe place for me and so many other students that it has showed me that there's more to Bloomington and Kennedy than there is to the I.
Say that again. I'm sorry, I missed that last part. Repeat yourself, that last part.
OEE has been like such a safe place for me that it makes me think that there is hope at the end.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's valuable feedback. I think we need from you as a youth, just to know that that your feelings of safety can derive from the programs in the community that you live. And so I think that's a valuable insight for us. And so again, I want to continue to just support you and encourage you, and as time goes on, to be thinking of the so we think as time goes on, as you process that question, again, we just love that you would consider that these communities and programs that you're involved in. Catherine, are you with us?
Yep.
All right, Catherine, you frequent Bloomington community a couple times a week, whether at Treehouse or the mall. And in your experience, have you felt safe? Why or why not?
I feel safe because I haven't really had no conflicts with anyone or no like at all. And I just go to Treehouse and then to the mall. So I personally feel safe.
Yeah.
I remember asking somebody though that same question, and they live around Bloomington, and they told me how they felt like sort of safe because it came to a point where they actually were being followed by cops, and they weren't doing anything wrong. Like he was just with like his friend group.
Yeah.
So there's like, I personally feel safe, but I know other people normally like they feel kind of safe.
Yeah. And again, I want to thank you for going and getting that feedback, because we know that everyone doesn't always have the same experience. So some might feel safe and some might not. And I think that's important to have all those perspectives. So again, thank you for doing that research, and thank you for just sharing your own experience and being open with that. So with that being said, again, I want to continue to encourage you guys to be thinking of that question if you feel safe, and let us know in the chat, so that way we can have that recorded somewhere, and we want to know your experience. With that being said, let's move on to the question 3. And this is the big one. This is what big one I love, because I'm a big active person. I love activities in the community. And so we want to know from you guys, what are activities you enjoy in the community, and what activities are missing? And then from that, we can infer a second part of that question. If there's services, healthcare, childcare, anything like that you feel are missing in the community, we'd love to know about that as well. So let's start back again with Tatiana, if you are with us.
Okay.
We want to hear from you.
So pretty much, okay, well, let's just say, maybe there's times where access to a library, I had to go all the way like super far just to get a library. So maybe opening another library in the community, as well as opening maybe a laundromat room, because not everybody has access to going to Oasis to do laundry, and it might be a Saturday or a Sunday, or whatever day really. Um, uh, and I think that opening another Oasis for youth or another youth center, like Oasis, in the more metro area, because I know that I end up moving to St. Paul and I'm traveling all the way from Maplewood just to get to Oasis, just because how comfortable I feel, and I've been going there ever since I was 13, 14 years old. I'm so and some type of housing, more housing, I guess, for single parents with kids, or youth that are struggling homelessness. I know that there are a couple of youth that are sleeping in tents and stuff like that. And then I feel like more family night outs, but more community bound. So not the whole, not the whole Hennepin or not the whole Ramsey County, but more like community bound, like maybe if it's like a block or a certain area, a certain location, and as well as and for schools. Only thing I really can say is I know that myself going to school in elementary school and not a lot of real secure help and resources for kids or students that are going through mental issues, as far as when they hurt themselves or going through living situations, or sometimes it's tough for people to even speak out. So for people like us to go to schools and talk to schools and say, hey, if you're sad or if you're this way or anything, this is an agency or this is some type of organization where we help with that, and get them connected and stuff, especially in the African American community, as well as I don't know if this is on topic, but I know that there are kids that walk to school during winter time. In mid spring, I know that it pours down raining heavy in the spring, but I know for sure for winter time for transportation for kids that walk to school, because for the experience of my own, I had a newborn baby. I just left from the shelter from homelessness, and so I just had a new baby. My son was getting ready to start school, and I'm like, how am I gonna get my newborn baby out here in this blistering winter cold, get myself, and my oldest son and stuff out the door, but still needing to keep myself warm and my baby warm, and still have to go out in the world and handle business and stuff on the bus. So I know for sure that one. I even tried to talk to the school. They even offered, well, what can I do to help you to get Kavion to school more? And I told them, like, I need transportation for someone to be able to come and get him. I know I'm walking distance, but it's cold. It's so cold outside, and I feel like no kid should have to walk in the winter time. And I feel like activities that are missing are really just more community bound gatherings. Like I said, I like when they were doing the national night out, like people that live in the apartment buildings. That's kind of community bound, where the people in the apartment buildings, they would all go outside and they barbecue or whatever they do, and um, get to know one another and our neighbors. And I feel like cleaning up some of the parks in Bloomington. I feel like there's parks, but not enough. And there is a park in Bloomington, but it's not easy to access it with a metro. So
Are you talking about park reserves?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about just like normal, like local parks and playgrounds and things like that?
Yeah, just more, just more to it. More, I guess, more like more, make it more accessible, and yes, just more recreational parks where when there's nothing else to do, and we don't always have money to go to a science museum or something, and we just want to go outside and play for free, and we can't really find a park, or they're too far, or you need a bus or something to get there versus in our community. I should be able to maybe walk towards one end, 2 blocks this way, or 3, 4, 5 blocks this way, and you know what I mean. It's more closer.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so-
And then just real quick, I just want to remind me, what was, can you just quick remind us something that you really enjoy, an activity you really enjoy in Bloomington? I believe it was something along the lines of Oasis, but if there was something else I might have missed, I just want to.
Yeah, I guess I can say the Mall of America. It's not too much in Bloomington, so really just really the Mall of America and going to Bloomington, going to Oasis. I apologize. Going to Oasis for Youth were my favorite activities to do. So.
All right. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for sharing. Jana, are you, or Jenna, I'm sorry. I keep saying Jana.
It's okay.
Jenna, are you with us? Are you here?
Yes.
What activities do you enjoy in Bloomington? Is there any activities missing? And then if so, what things do you feel like are missing? Healthcare, childcare, anything like that, etc.
Yes. So, being in Bloomington for so long and with younger siblings and relatives, always trying to find a park or just finding something to do. We go to all the parks and we love all the activities. So just I feel like adding more wading pools. I know a lot of people say, oh, like the Bloomington water park, but everyone don't have, the funds to go to the water park or to get a membership there. So I know a lot of people was saying that splash pads for little kids and some wading pools for the Bloomington community. And also I have two younger brothers with autism. So activities for kids with disabilities, I feel like would be awesome. Learning more about activities for kids with disabilities, that would be awesome.
That's valuable insight. Thank you. Again, we want to look for ways that we can just find better services for those in the community, and I think that's something that probably is not thought of just as much as like what services do we have for those who have special needs. So I think that's very important. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Caltoon. Caltoon, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, Caltoon. Activities you enjoy in Bloomington, and then what's missing, and then if you could name some services and things like that you feel like could be added, that would be great.
I would say OEE. Like it's given me so many opportunities that I wouldn't have gotten before
For
I
those
joined.
who might be joining in, can you kind of just briefly describe OEE?
Yeah, it's like a not after school, but like it's within the school program for all types of students, and it's like a safe place for and we have mentors like Leticia. Miss Wade is like the big boss, I would say, of OE. And it's a place where like they teach us about things school per se would not teach us about. Takes us on trips school will not take us, like camping and things like most of us never had opportunity to experience before. Yeah, that's how to explain it.
That's
so
good.
It's given me like more opportunities and more chances to like see and learn and more about the culture and the people in Bloomington. I'm really grateful for that. And things we're missing, like Jenna said, is activities for disabled students, more parks like not regular, what's the parks where you have to pay money for, like the hiking trail ones?
Yeah.
The really big ones. I'd really like if those were more accessible, like lowering the price of them. More, I would say more gatherings as well, like community-based gatherings, and more like basketball and like volleyball places where we can go as teenagers and like just play with our friends.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I think that's important. As teens, we want to, or I'm not a teen, but as those as those who are young people, we want to continue to foster better relationships with them and keep them active. So I think
Mhm.
those are good insights. Thank you, Caltoon.
Yeah.
Let's move forward to Catherine. Catherine, from from your perspective, as someone who frequents Bloomington, are there activities you enjoy in Bloomington, and do you feel like anything's missing?
An activity I enjoy in Bloomington would have to be Treehouse, which I go uh, Tuesdays and Thursdays right now because of COVID, so it's just Tuesdays. But yeah, I feel like Treehouse would have to be an activity I enjoy because it just makes me feel like I'm at home, and I just have to like get the chance to meet more teens and you know and just interact with others.
Yeah, for sure. Well, sure. Well, we appreciate the love for Treehouse. We'll appreciate that. Um, and
Yeah.
then, do you feel like anything's missing?
What I think is missing would have to be basically like like the community coming back together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's like based off what I got from other people.
yeah,
But yeah, adding more community activities and making it more teen friendly. Something I would change because I work like with like at a group home and one of the houses is located in Bloomington.
yeah,
And something I would like that I noticed would have to be like making Bloomington more diverse because I noticed that like where the group home the house is located, I noticed there's a lot of like diversity, but then when you go to the next block it's just like no diverse, like it's not even diverse at all.
yeah,
So it'd be like to mix it up a little bit.
yeah. Those are very
So
keen
yeah.
observations. So again, we want to thank you for spending the time, asking questions, asking your Bloomington resident friends, and getting this input from for us, because this is very useful for us. So thank you very much.
No
Yeah, with
problem.
that, let's move on to question number 4. If you guys are ready. Awesome. Okay, so with that being the case, we want to name 3 things you'd like to see change within Bloomington, city, schools, or community. So we're going to start with Tatiana. Again, if she's still with us. Tatiana, you
Yes.
still?
Yep.
All right.
So,
Start with her. Start with you, Tatiana. Give me 3 things that you want to see change within Bloomington.
um, 3 things to change within Bloomington, which would be um for the community of Bloomington to be able to help youth and young moms um with resources that we have in the local Bloomington area. So educating us on where we live and what resources we have, and finding a way to get that information out. Um, and another thing um, would be, like I was stating, more accessible parks and stuff for families and everyone to be able to go play, and it's safe, and it's fun. Um, and another thing to change, this is kind of off topic, I'm not sure, but I was just thinking about, yeah, there definitely needs to be some type of um, more rental assistance program
Mm.
for the Bloomington area. Um, uh, um, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just reading what I put down.
No, it's all
Um,
good. It's all good.
so I'm not sure if this is off topic, but yeah, something like that, or even yeah, I think there's not a lot of childcare and stuff out there, so there's not really a lot of daycare sites, and there's not a lot of affordable daycare sites in Bloomington. So yeah, that's the only thing I can think of right now.
Yeah, I think that's valuable input. I think you represent a demographic of people that I think can be very easily not thought of when you think of, like, we have young people who need to go to school and have kids.
Yeah.
And what happens with those young children. So I think that's valuable input. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Let's move on to sorry, let me Jenna. Jenna, are you with us?
Yes.
All right, Jenna, give me 3 things you want to see changed.
3 things. Yes. So I said more programs and housing for kids with disabilities, more free programs for youth. I also said that more murals, I believe I said that right, and more street artwork for the community to bring us together. Because I feel like art has a way of bringing people together. So I would love to see that also in the community.
Yeah, and especially when you talk about expression and how important that is to um, BIPOC cultures. I think art's very big.
Yes.
So thank you for articulating that. That was big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, appreciate that. Kaltoon, are you with us?
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm here.
Oh, all right. Awesome. Can you give me 3 things you want to see changed within City of Bloomington's city, schools, community, anything like that?
The ones I'm gonna give you are based on the survey that OEE conducted for students and this is the responses, and I agree with most of them. I'll just tell you. The first one was an inclusive educational curriculum that includes learning about people of color that is not limited to Black History Month, and having artwork throughout the city that sparks conversations. The second one was renaming Jefferson High School due to what the name entails, and also hiring and keeping more staff and teachers of admin of color.
Yes, thank you. Can you kind of? I just want to hear a little bit more from the Jefferson High School renaming. Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, as we all know, or should know, that we all know Thomas Jefferson was not the greatest of people, and seeing that name, like within like that name still being held in today's society is just quite like it's kind of condescending in my opinion. We know that that's like I feel like it brings so much like anger towards students, and specifically me. Like, he literally owned slaves for so long, and it's like seeing it on a school's name, it makes you think that BIPOC students are not appreciated as much.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think that's a very valuable input. Let's connect with Catherine. Catherine, are you with us?
Yep.
You have 3 things you want to see changed in Bloomington City or schools.
Yes. So the first one would be adding more teen-friendly community activities, such as party blocks and other activities. The other thing would have to be breaking the roots of like divisions among streets, so it can be the whole like Bloomington community can be more diverse as a whole. And the third thing would have to be like getting like the whole police department to be less segregated, based off of the story I told you guys earlier. And I think that would be it.
Yeah, that's good. Those are all good insights. I think our youth just have a really valuable perspective that I think we can utilize just for the best and for the better of Bloomington and the community here. So again, thank you so much, teens, for sharing. And just from that, I know that I can think of a few reflections for myself as a treehouse staff that I think are really valuable in getting some perspective as to the state of our community and what things can change. I think more specifically, I think of we had an officer who came and visited Treehouse the past couple of weeks, And upon his visit, just because of his uniform, several of our teens had a lot of anxiety. So you could visibly see anxious feelings and shifting in their seats and things like that as he walked into our space. But he came on his own accord because he wanted to build relationships. Like that's what he valued, was coming and being a bridge and building relationships and understanding that tensions were high. And I can tell you this, just as he spent time with us in our support groups, as he spent time in our program, by the end of it, one of our boys who was shifting in his seat, and I can tell you, I know this boy personally, that he would never do this, but he walked up to the officer and he dapped him up. So if you don't know what that is, he gave him a fist bump. And to me, that was something I had never seen him do. But it just came from 45 minutes of just sitting down with him and hearing and listening to him and sharing with him. So again, these are valuable insights that I'm seeing that I'm like that can really change the face of what our community could look like with these even small interactions. And just even as I reflect on some of the stories I shared about just walking through the community and connecting with the neighborhood and people not opening doors, I think that some of these fears, some of these concerns are shaped by our perceptions of people of color. So it's really important to really seek these kind of changes that can foster healthier relationships and better community. So again, these are just some of my reflections as I've gone into work in Bloomington for the last 4.5 years. But now it's time, we want to hear from you guys. So I know a lot of you guys might have questions. A lot of you guys have thoughts, feelings, reflections during this time. And we want to hear from you. And so how we want to do this and how we want to do this well without people talking over each other or feeling uncomfortable or hearing too many voices at once. We're going to do this in a simple way. If you see your chat box, in there, you can type, I have something to share. You can say, hey, pick me, call on me, something to let us know that, hey, you have something to share. And we just want to very briefly, because we want to make sure we're respectful of people's time, we want to very briefly call on you, and you can unmute yourself and share some of the things that thoughts and feelings you have, either reflections of this time or stories that you might want to share as you saw some of these questions, anything like that you want to share as you now have an ear with the city of Bloomington. That being the case, I'm looking at the chat box, and we have Bavaya, I believe your name is. I'm sorry, Jordan. I'm sorry, I didn't see Jordan beforehand. Okay, Jordan. Jordan, if you're
Hello.
Mute yourself. All right, awesome.
Hello.
Jordan, anything you want to share after hearing this experience?
Yeah, so I'm a part of a youth from Bloomington. I actually just recently moved out of Bloomington. So I was listening, and you guys were talking about like safety concerns or like what you could do differently. So in my own experience, I have dealt with racist neighbors and racist teachers at Kennedy High School, which really is really impactful for me as a person of color, just because I don't know, I felt alone. So I was alone by myself with a lot of other older white males and females, and so I just want to know, like, how can we get the students more ready for these white people who aren't always gonna support them? So I'm talking about like the IPOC. So like, how are we gonna make sure they feel safe? Just because I know I didn't feel safe, and I know there's cops have been called on me many times just because I'm Latino, just because my family's Latino. So it's just like, how do we make sure these families know that we are not here to endanger anybody's life? We are here to live and work, and we're here to. I'm here to learn, obviously, as a student. So I just want to bring the attention to everybody here that, Bloomington is not always safe for for BIPOC, just because it's sometimes it can be very hostile to youth. And I feel sometimes we don't have a voice in the community, which is wrong, because I know there is a lot of Latinos and Latinas living in the community of Bloomington now. A lot of them are moving from Minneapolis. And so I know that a lot of the youth are not having the chance to speak up, which is very important, just because we have already been sheltered to not speak up during like times of like pain. So like during these times of everything that's happening in our economy right now and everything that's happening in the world, we just feel left out and we want to be heard. So how can we continue to make sure Latinos, BIPOC, anybody who's is a minority can be heard, just because, you know, in the past we haven't had that resources. And so, which is why one of the reasons why I recently moved from Bloomington. So how can we get that up and running? How can we get a better connection with the youth and with the adults who are in city council, who can you know, just connect with the students on a deeper level, make sure that they're safe, make sure that if there's any neighbors harassing them constantly, that they speak up about it? And how can we just make sure we're feeling safe together? Because we're here for a long time. You know, everybody's going to be living together for a while. So how do we get everybody as a community again? Thank you for listening to me. I just wanted to bring to my attention. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan, for sharing. And that's really what we're here to tackle today. We want the young people to be heard here. And so that very question is something that we're seeking to answer. And Jordan, we're just so glad you came, and we'd love that if you would stay connected with us, because we don't want this to be the last time we do this, and we want to keep doing it, and we want more people like you coming through and sharing, because that's really how we're going to continue to make change. And to answer your question, how do we prep these BIPOC students for racist teachers and things like that? The answer is you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to prepare BIPOC students for racist teachers. So if that's going on, then I think something needs to be changed on the other end, not with our youth. So that being the case, I'd like to move on to the next person. Bhavya, is that how you say your name?
It's Bhavya.
Bhavya. Okay. Thank you for coming. Yeah, we want to hear from you.
Yeah, I think whatever Jordan said, yeah, that's like the epitome of Bloomington, you know? As a BIPOC student who goes to Jefferson, which is a predominantly white school, it's hard to it's like you don't have the people who look like you around you. So that's really hard to, you know, go to a school with people who don't look like you. And it's hard to let your voice be heard. And, you know, I shouldn't have to, this is something I always say, I shouldn't have to shout for my voice to be heard, right? And I think when Kaltun was saying her demands, her 3 things she wants to change, that's something I also agree with. The staff at Jefferson, we need a lot more BIPOC staff, because when you look at all the teachers, I can probably only think of one BIPOC teacher that I've seen, and I have not had any, personally, I have not had any BIPOC teachers. I've only seen one BIPOC teacher at Jefferson. There definitely needs to be more resources at Jefferson for BIPOC students, because there's this thing that goes on between Jefferson High School and Kennedy High School. Jefferson High School is much more, it's predominantly white, while Kennedy High School has more BIPOC students. And there's something that goes on between the 2 high schools, between the 2 students. Kennedy's always referred to as the lower school, as the quote unquote ghetto school. And that completely relates to the amount of BIPOC students they have. So I hope everyone can see how that's genuinely just not okay. And that's not the type of, we want a friendly competition between the high schools and not something so ugly like this. Yeah, and while this entire event is really great, and I don't want to take away from the experiences from all of the people who spoke, I don't really feel like it's targeted towards the youth, if I'm being completely honest, because I never knew about it, and I'm a youth who goes to Bloomington, and I had to do a lot of my own advertising of this event to really get my peers to show up and speak. So I'm kind of disappointed with how this was advertised and how this was, directed, because it's disappointing.
Yeah, we actually want your feedback on that. I think
Yeah.
that's so valuable for us. So if you have thoughts or ideas on how we could advertise this better and get more youth to hear about opportunities like this, please, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I think definitely, I mean, I saw the Facebook event, but it was only at the last second. And I think one of my friends sent me the flyer, and I was like, oh, what is this? I never even knew about this, So I think it would be cool for, I feel like the youth, we use a lot of, social medias, and some of us don't even use social media. So I don't know if there were flyers put around town. I don't know if, the only thing I saw was the Facebook event. So I think advertising it more towards the youth would be something to look at, because I think a lot of my peers, especially my BIPOC peers, they have a lot to say and they have stories, and I don't think a faulty advertising should be, the roadblock to them to be able to say their stories.
Yes, that's very good insight, and thank you for sharing
Mhm.
that reflection. Um, that was good. Moving on, I want to call on Tatiana, if you're still here.
Yes, yes.
Tatiana, you have something that you wanna bring to the table.
Yeah. So I was just thinking about kind of another situation, and just really just a story just to tell you. Really just I do know I experienced the Kennedy High School, Jefferson High School situation thing. I actually graduated from Jefferson, and I went to Kennedy. I came from Valley View Elementary, Valley View Middle, then I went to Oak Grove Middle, all the way. So I kind of got a mix of both sides and experienced a lot. And so leaving Kennedy High School just to go to Jefferson, I had no clue about Jefferson. All I knew was, oh, it's a lot of white people there, and they're gonna do this and do that, which they kind of did. And so I was a little scared to leave Kennedy High School just to go to Jefferson. But the experience at Jefferson High School was shades of brown, and that's something I've been doing ever since maybe Valley View, maybe fifth grade, maybe middle school, just about. And so Shades of Brown was a really fun and interesting thing to have growing up. Being and actually at Jefferson High School, I seen a couple of Caucasian, a couple of white kids in the Shades of Brown group, and so I'm just like, okay, it made me feel good to see that having a Shades of Brown group in the school made it to where it kind of conjoined a lot of everyone together. And so that's something that I enjoyed, and that's just a story and something that I remembered as we were talking and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think more people could value from hearing input like that. So thank you so much,
Yeah.
uh, Tatiana. So thank you for sharing. We want to move on to Cassandra. Cassandra, are you with us?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Go for it.
Okay. I am a 2018 Kennedy graduate. I go to school in Portland, Oregon now for college, but I'm home because of the pandemic. And I've worked at Kid Safari at several sites across Bloomington for many years, like 3 years. And one thing that somebody else brought up, I don't remember if it was Tatiana or Jenna, but they were talking about how we need affordable childcare. And I really agree with that statement because I've personally seen how I feel like Kid Safari is more catered to more privileged students, and the programs that are on the west side compared to the east side, I feel have more resources. And I don't know, I agree that there is a need for childcare in Bloomington, especially right now during this tough time. I feel like is really important. And then also I was gonna share that I had an experience with an English teacher with my friend. I am Latina, but I'm white passing, so I have never experienced racism myself in Bloomington, but my friend had an experience with our English teacher, and I was by her and I witnessed it, that like, I don't know, she was not doing her work or like goofing off or whatever, and like the teacher said to her, like, see, this is why you're not going anywhere in life, like this is why you won't ever be in a good position of education, like you have to do things for yourself, we can't do it all for you. And just like, I don't know, really ignorant, sort of like harsh words from our teacher. And like, I know somebody was saying that we need more students of color, teachers of color in Bloomington, and representation of BIPOC in Bloomington. And I think that starts with encouraging students that they can become teachers and counselors and whatever they want to do, because it's not only that like people aren't applying or interviewing for those jobs, it starts with like they need to know that they can have that education and be supported and valued. And then I was gonna say one more thing. I think that there is at both high schools a sort of praise or like honoring of athletes that allows for a sort of culture that doesn't hold them accountable. And I think more Black and brown students get searched in schools, and I think that there's this sort of like praise of athletes that we don't have enough consent culture, I think, in our curriculum. That also needs to start from like a young age, and we shouldn't think of it as taboo, and just like education that is needed for the youth right now. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Cassandra. I said that right, Cassandra?
Yeah, I go
okay.
back.
Okay, make sure I said that right. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I think those are valuable insights. I mean, especially for the schools and teachers. I feel like we've heard that quite a bit tonight. So I think those are going to be valuable things that we want to take a look at in the future. And we have some people that didn't necessarily say they wanted to share, but we have some questions in the chat. So for those who are wondering if this is going to be shared somewhere, I believe it will be on YouTube, and I'm sure Faith will, at the end, will kind of guide us on how we can find this recording and where we can find this recording, and more information on when and how the next event will happen. So to answer that question, let's see. I think Caltoon said she had something, and if I was missing something, sorry, the chat's going pretty fast, so I'm trying to keep up with it. Caltoon, I think are you still here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Throughout the whole like conference, I've kept hearing the differences between East and West Bloomington, and I hope in the future there's a way to like bridge the gap between those two places, because it's quite evident like which side you're on, and it's sad to see that one side has more and more, like saying the West Bloomington has way more opportunities and chances than East Bloomington does, and how could we do that?
Yeah, I think that's very, very valuable insight and perspective. Now, you go to which school do you go to, Caltoon?
I graduated from Kennedy High School.
Kennedy. Okay, you graduated from Kennedy. Okay, thank you for sharing that. We have next Eddie Torres. Eddie Torres, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still with you guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about the background noise. I've been listening in, meanwhile, still at work.
Right.
So I've been listening in and paying attention. And I just want to say that I've seen both worlds, from living in Bloomington and living in Minneapolis. I've seen the best of both worlds, and I've also seen the worst. And well, I just want to start off by saying, like, I do agree on having like gatherings with the community, because when I was living in Bloomington, when I was living in Minneapolis, they would throw block parties once or twice a year, and people would come together, and you just get to meet everybody there and interact with everybody, and that just makes the community a little bit stronger in some way. And also, I think that I think the schooling too. I have ADHD personally, which the school isn't really designed for me. It's designed for kids that can sit in one place for a long time and pay attention, and that's not me. Like, I can't sit in a spot for too long. I have to always be active, and I feel like we could change that part of schooling too.
Yeah, that's valuable insight. And again, just a shameless plug here. I get the awesome opportunity of mentoring Eddie week in and week out. So, I'm very excited that he's here and sharing his perspective, because I think he has a lot to share and a very unique perspective.
When I used to go to Hiawatha, I used to go to school in Minneapolis, and I used to go to Hiawatha, and a lot of the resources they have, Kennedy is lacking, as in like teachers being more interactive with students and just being there. Because me personally, I can say I've never been the greatest student. I've never had the best of grades, just because like I said, school wasn't designed for me. But when I was going to Hiawatha, school was a little bit easier, because I always had like a teacher or someone who was always interacting with me, like, oh, how's this going? Like, I can help you with this if you need help. You can always, or like a teacher would say, oh, you can always come after school. Like, I can help you here. And that's just something that Kennedy is lacking. Yeah, you can you have like teachers that stay after school, but they're not really there to help,
Yeah.
They're just kind of there to answer questions here and there, but they don't sit down and actually interact with the student and be like, oh, what's actually like, what's actually like, what's like, I don't know how to say it. Like, what's the main thing you need help with, And Kennedy's teachers don't really do that.
Yeah. That's very valuable insight, especially from coming from a young Kennedy student. Did you have something else you wanted to share, or?
And safe. Well, I feel safe in, like, I guess in Bloomington, yeah, because also I grew up in Minneapolis, so I've seen the best of both worlds and also the worst. And Bloomington is relatively safer than Minneapolis, because my experiences in Minneapolis with police have always been bad. And so,
is there any difference in your experience with Bloomington police, or?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Because I mean, they're a little nicer, but I mean, I can't speak on all police, you know. I'm just saying, like, the encounters I've had personally with Bloomington police have always been good encounters. And, well, also, like, I don't know, I think it's just the difference, you know,
Yeah.
how Bloomington is perceived as a white and very bougie place, as in Minneapolis is just a ghetto. But even though Minneapolis has, like, the label of being ghetto, the community is actually very strong and very connected.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Eddie. Do we have any others that would like to share? Trying to look through the chat. Sorry, the chat's going kind of fast for me. I'm trying to go back and check on to see if there's anybody I missed. If there's anybody I missed, go ahead and just type in the chat if there's something else that you would like to share, in case I missed something. Because again, we want to make sure that that if you have something to share, that now's the time. All right, I'm gonna give it a couple more seconds. I see Tatiana said wanted to make this a regular occurrence. I agree. I think this was a very valuable experience, in my personal opinion.
You know what, Jimmy? I would like to say something.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Leticia. I am a Bloomington alum. I was born and raised in Bloomington, went to many of the schools. I actually accepted a position within the district my senior year, in which I am still working there 14, 15 years later. I work at Kennedy High School. And just hearing some of the students speak is just one of those things that I think students and youth value is relationships. And I feel though in Bloomington Public Schools is oftentimes we don't feel like we have those connections because we look for those oftentimes with people that look like us and understand us. And there's certain feelings as a BIPOC person of color that only another would be able to identify with. And that's something that I love bringing to Kennedy, is just being someone that's relatable, they can understands them, and gives them a sense of home. Even though I'm from Bloomington, I went to all Black private school, K through 3rd. And I actually started going to Bloomington Public Schools 4th grade. And that's when I found Miss Wade, and it was then Shades of Brown. And now it is our Office of Educational Equity Leadership Program that I'm now a mentor of, and you've got to meet Caltoon and some of our other students that I just love so dearly. And just knowing the things and I get emotional because that program has been so awesome for me and so many students, because it gives them, like they've said, is that safe place, a place that they're emotionally safe, they're physically safe to just be them. And so that's one of the things that I value. I did take some notes just in regards to the city, Bloomington, the school district, and if I can just share a few of those, that would be awesome. I won't make this too long. But one of the things is to commit to hiring, keeping, and promoting BIPOC in all positions within the city, encouraging people of color to apply for positions and internships within the city, more employment, advertising, and recruiting within workforce centers in Bloomington and Minneapolis, be active in creating relationships between the community and law enforcement. We would like to see farmers markets more on the east side. As you hear, there's the two sides, but that also take WIC and EBT so that we can offer some health and wellness to those families on that side of town. We would like to see more hosted community events also on the east side, like Easter egg hunts, block parties, but also things that celebrate culture like Juneteenth and Cinco de Mayo. We would like to call for the avoid police presence at school district events, for example, school distribution. As we know, many of our families could be undocumented, and we want that to be a safe place for them to not avoid getting food for their families. We know that Bloomington, their student body is over 50%. We're looking for school board members, administrators, teachers, staff, that represent those numbers. And when I looked at the data, I didn't really see it reflect that. I looked at St. Paul's, Minneapolis's, and Bloomington. We gotta get more people of color to represent the diversity that the students value within the city and the school district. Hire key staff of color in the school buildings to support those students. Acknowledge, honor, and celebrate all different cultures and people that live and go to school in Bloomington. We tried to host a Black History Month program at Kennedy. And unfortunately, we were told that you can't do that because then everyone would want to do that. My question is, why not? We've taken surveys at Kennedy that have said that they value the diversity, they value the culture. But why don't we feel that? Why aren't we celebrating those very students that come to those schools day in and day out? Officially make using racial derogatory slurs towards students a call for termination. I would also like to see us ban the use of racial slurs from training purposes for teachers and staff entirely. Host cultural events at the City of Bloomington to display arts and talents of those in the community. Use funding to offer more free youth programming for lower income students to promote health and wellness. Fund and require culturally diverse courses in school taught by people of color. Require accurate and important information and curriculum. Tell the good, the bad, the ugly truth of America, the Indigenous and African American history in Bloomington Public Schools. And lastly, to integrate current events in the curriculum. So when we speak about George Floyd or Breonna Taylor, bring those conversations up so you can see how your students, how your community is really feeling so that we can generate change. And again, thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that was powerful, that was insightful, that was moving, and I think we need more of that, because we want voices heard, and I think so many things have gone unsaid for so long. So thank you so much for sharing, Ms. Alvarez. With that being said, if there's any final words or any final thoughts before I turn it over to Ms. Jackson. I don't see anything in the chat. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Faith, or turn it back over to Faith. And I just want to thank you again for the opportunity, for this time. I want to thank you guys for hearing each other and hearing the city. Like, this is your city, this is your community. And thank you for just letting me be a part of this experience. I had a lot of fun, and I'm very grateful. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you so much, Jimmy, for facilitating this conversation today. I agree with your last sentence in response to Ms. Leticia's comments, both for her comments and for all the things that I've heard today, right? Powerful, insightful, and very much needed. And I am just overjoyed that we were able to have this conversation, that we were able to hear from you. And I'm also excited because we do have representation both from the City of Bloomington and the Bloomington Public Schools. We have Mayor Tim Bussey, who will provide just some brief remarks, and then also Assistant Superintendent Jenna Mitchler, who will provide some brief remarks. And so I'm so grateful that they were able to hear what the young people had to say. And then I will turn it over first to Assistant Superintendent Jenna Mitchell to provide some remarks, and then followed by Mayor Tim Bussey.
Thank you for that, Faith. Thank you for facilitating, Jimmy. And thank you to Khaltoon and Tatiana, Jenna, Catherine, everybody who is sharing tonight about your experiences and your thoughts. I feel truly honored to have had the opportunity to hear from all of you, and I feel really humbled as I think about and consider the work that's ahead for all of us, really, in Bloomington and in Bloomington Public Schools. So I think this event is very, very important, and I just am very grateful to the city for hosting it. So thank you for that. The questions were well thought out and the responses were really, really insightful. I'm also really happy, of course, to hear all the wonderful comments and feedback about the Office of Educational Equity in Bloomington Public Schools, which, as many of you know, is under the leadership of Dina Wade-Ardley, who's here tonight. And so I'm just very, very happy to hear so many positive comments about that department and the work that's happening there. Hoping we can take some of the great work that's happening and spread it across the district in places where maybe we haven't in the past. I want to share that stakeholder voice and feedback is really key, I think, in what's to come in our next steps for the school district. And we really do truly aim to make schools educational spaces where all students, not just some, feel safe and supported. And so we want to ensure that each and every student really receives equitable access to the resources and opportunities that we have. I'll also share that the Bloomington Anti-Racist Coalition has been meeting with some of our district leaders and having really important conversations, productive conversations that are going to help us move our work forward and guide our work in the district. The last thing I'll just share is Bloomington Public Schools recently adopted our next 3-year equity plan, which maybe you've seen or heard about if you were watching some of the recent school board meetings. But this includes opportunities for our board and for staff to participate in reflection and learning around their beliefs, values, and assumptions, and ultimately think through how thinking about those can inform our policies and our systems, and where necessary, we give us opportunities to rewrite and redo some of those things. So I'll just say again that I'm really humbled tonight to think about what lays ahead in terms of our work, and I want to thank everyone for sharing their experiences. You were all very courageous in sharing tonight, and I look forward to continuing our work and moving forward. So thank you again.
Awesome, thank you so much, Jenna. Mayor Bussey?
Thank you, Faith, and thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone who spoke tonight, who shared your thoughts and your feelings and your questions and your concerns. I appreciate your willingness to come forth and to speak honestly and to speak openly and to really tell us your experience, what the City of Bloomington experience is for you. I'll be honest, I heard stories that made me sad, made me disappointed, made me humbled and questioning a lot of things. But I also heard a lot of stories that were inspiring also. And I appreciate, as I said, your willingness to share those with us. And as we wrap up tonight, what I'm feeling most of all is committed. I'm committed. We're going to do this again. We're absolutely going to do this again, whether it's in this format. Hopefully it's in a face-to-face format before too long, so we can actually get together in a room and have these discussions. I want to have these community meetings where youth voices are centered, where they're really the center of the discussion. I'm committed to being intentional about hearing from the youth in our community. As soon as possible, I want to get out and get to Oasis. I want to see my friend Nicole again, and I want to see pictures of the babies, Nicole. I haven't seen those in too long. I want to get to Treehouse and learn more about Treehouse. I want to learn more about the Office of Educational Equity and Leadership Program. I want to find additional opportunities to meet with students where everybody is. And I'm also committed to taking action. We heard a lot of things tonight. We heard a lot of comments, questions, concerns, and we're not just going to let those sit on a shelf. We have this recorded. It's going to be shared. It's going to be part of the public record. We want people to watch this. We want people to know about this because, as I said, we are going to do this again. And, you know, I saw a couple of comments earlier about we have so many staff members here, so many people from the nonprofits. One of the things that I was talking about, and I've been talking about for a long time now, is the importance of Bloomington becoming aligned. We've got to make sure that the work in Bloomington, that we're all aligned in our work, and if we're not, we're just spinning our wheels. And when I say aligned, I mean the City of Bloomington, the Bloomington schools, our nonprofits, our youth groups, our faith groups, our business community. We've all got to be moving in the same direction if we really want to accomplish anything. And so this is a great step toward that. So a heartfelt thank you to Oasis for Youth and for Bloomington Schools and for Treehouse for being with us tonight. Thank you to Jimmy for hosting. Outstanding job. You did a great job. Thank you so very much. And you got a sweet setup there too with the microphone and the headset. I love that. That looks great. Thanks to our Assistant Superintendent, Jenna Minchler. I know you folks have a lot going on these days, and I appreciate your willingness to be here. Also from our schools, I know we've got the board chair, Nellie Corman, and board member, Maya Olson. So thank you for being here, and thanks for being part of this. Bloomington Council member Jenna Carter is with us, State Senator Melissa Franzen, State Representative Steve Elkins, Hennepin County Commissioner Debbie Gattell. We've got a slew of city staff here. We've got members of our police department, Commander Ben Calhoun and our crime prevention coordinator, Katie Zerl. This is what I mean by alignment. To get all of those folks together, hearing the same stories and hearing this information and hearing your opinions and thoughts. With that, we can all then put our heads together and figure out how we continue to move forward. And as I said, I'm committed. We are going to continue moving forward. We're going to continue this type of thing. Faith, it's now part of the job description. Faith, we're going to have to do this on a regular basis because this was absolutely outstanding. And thank you all very much. Thanks for spending time with us. Thanks for being committed in doing this. Thanks for spending this beautiful summer evening with us. And as we do these again, and I'm talking to the young people in particular here, help us spread the word. Help us spread the word and make this a place that people want to spend their evenings, that we can do this kind of thing and learn some great information, valuable information. So thank you all so very much. Faith in particular, thank you. Thanks for pulling this all together. Well done, greatly appreciated. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mayor Bussey. And I appreciate the compliments, but I have to give the thanks to the amazing team that really pulled this together. And so I want to have a quick second for thank yous, and then we'll dismiss here. I want to first thank Sue McKinley with McKinley Consulting. She's a Bloomington resident who reached out when she heard about this event and this idea and was like, I want to help. And so I was like, absolutely, okay. And I think I even underestimated just how much she wanted to help at first, because she did almost anything and everything that we needed to pull this event together. And so, Sue, thank you so much for your leadership and helping to coordinate this event. It wouldn't be possible without you. I want to thank the amazing planning team that put this event together. And so, again, many different leaders from the City of Bloomington staff, many different departments were a part of the planning committee that put this together. In addition to Molly from the school district and Karen Willis, another community member, and also Pastor Pat, who works with youth. And so they were part of the planning committee and really pulling this together. Also, again, thank you so much to the youth who shared, both those who had those prepared responses and also the youth who were involved in sort of bringing this together. I don't know if you all were able to hear me before. I just realized that I didn't have my microphone down. But if not, I was just saying thank you to all the names that are here on the screen, especially Sue McKinley for pulling this together, the youth who participated here tonight, Treehouse staff, Oasis staff, the Office of Educational Equity staff, the City of Bloomington, and also the school district. So with that, with just a very much heartfelt thank you, I will end tonight's meeting. There is one more slide, an announcement slide. You may have seen it in the beginning. Here's an opportunity to check out some of the amazing things that are happening right now that are really focused on youth, and this is events and activities that are being had within the City of Bloomington. There's information about how to get connected with environmental justice issues. There's also Project Play, which is a litany of different activities that our Parks and Recreation Department has put together. I have here on the screen one of those events, free pop-up soccer. And so if you're interested in that, please go to the city's website and take advantage of those opportunities. And then also, we understand that in the coming weeks, unfortunately, Old Man Winter will be here. And this will be a winter like no other in recent memory. And so we're trying to be intentional at the City of Bloomington to think about how do we make sure that we're staying active and that there's an opportunity for physical and mental well-being in our community, particularly with our youth. And we understand that this may have a disproportionate impact on BIPOC communities. And so our public health administrator, Nick Kelly, is pulling together a group of people similar to this event, community members, youth, nonprofits, faith groups, for a consensus workshop to just really do some brainstorming and say, what can we do to make sure that this is a winter that we all make it through and that we're able to maintain physical and mental well-being. And so, like I said, this information will be a part of the presentation. We will upload this recording to the city's YouTube page. And I was going to answer the question about, will we do this again? But I don't have a chance to answer that because because now it's a part of my job description, and I'm happy to hear that. We absolutely will find a way to do this again, and we want to hear from you about how we can publicize it. I'll leave my email in the chat, so if you have ideas about how we can better advertise, anything that you want to give feedback on how we can make this event better and reach more people, please let me know. Thank you all so much for your participation, and I look forward to meeting with you again. Take care.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you. It was fun.
Good night, all. Thank you.